Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Hey, welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And we are joined by a very special guest today, Chuck.
How's it going, guys?
We're good. Hey, we're going to cover current events real quick, and if you want to jump in at any time, go ahead and feel free.
I don't know how good MSN. I get a lot of mine from NPR anyways when I'm in the car.
Yeah.
Kids are always like, do we have to listen to this again?
Can we
listen to music?
Yeah, that and TMZ. I mean,
can we please listen to Kesha?
104.5 is having Christmas music now already. Can we listen to that instead?
Yeah.
I think probably the biggest news today is the Democrats did what they call the nuclear option and changed the rules for the filibuster. And so I wanted to say that Obama's been blocked 50 to 60% more of people he's nominated for positions by and not like, hey, we have a problem with this person, so we're going to block him until we can find out more. It's just kind of like, oh, he puts a nomination in, block it for no reason at all. So because the Republicans changed the percentage that you have to have for a vote, 60%, right, when it used to be 51,
right?
They have no way of getting anything through. Like, so if you nominate somebody in the past, so somebody who was nominated, if they had a really big controversial issue, they would do a Senate hearing and do things like that. Now that they don't do a lot of that anymore. Can I
ask a really stupid question?
Sure.
When Congress passes bills, doesn't the president have to sign off on that for it to be finally approved?
I don't think not, because I don't think it's a bill that has to it affects Congress and how they do things. I don't think he has to okay that. That's not part of that check and balance.
That directly changes how he can do his job if they change how they can approve or decline the bill.
Yeah.
Correct?
I agree. Yeah.
A little crazy.
That's completely different than Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
that is absolutely
finally somebody that's on the podcast that remembers Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Everybody else is too young, much younger than we are. But yeah, Schoolhouse Rock, I always thought did a great job about it. But they've done some really...
Bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. Yeah.
Perfect.
I love it.
They've done some offshoots of that same cartoon that apply it to now, and they swear and stuff in it, and it shows how it doesn't happen that way anymore. They twist the cartoon to show how things get manipulated and get attached to it, and amendments, and nobody can ever get exactly what they want through.
Where do you see that?
I thought it was YouTube.
There's a YouTube channel called Bankrupting America, and they do really funny skits and sketches and cartoons. Sometimes they'll do cartoons with stick figures and. I love it. It's like the current. It's like the
simpler the better.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the current.
Pictures.
It's like a current day Schoolhouse Rock, because they did a parody where the manager of the business is walking around going, "Why are you saving money? No. We're not supposed to save money. It's coming up on September. We have so much money that we have to spend, or we won't get that money back. So spend." And there's these two people that are trying to come in with budgets, saying, "No, we don't need to spend that. That's irresponsible." And the manager is just crazy. She just keeps coming after them. And finally they're being audited, and she has this urban pink and gray camouflage outfit on, and she's hiding behind a fern. So, hey, listen, I'm not describing it great. It's kind of funny the way I'm describing it, but it's not great. So if you want to see a really funny sketch, go to YouTube and type in Bankrupting America.
Nice.
And then you can look at all their videos, and they follow us on Twitter. So
sweet.
And we follow them.
And we do.
Perfect.
Also, JP Morgan settled with the government today for their big, humongous fuck up that ruined the economy. And
what do you mean they settled?
They settled. They are paying off or helping pay the mortgages that have gotten screwed up, but they're paying it via the government, I believe is how it works. $13 billion, which I think they make well over, say something like that, where they don't. It's like the NFL, who paid out $400 million for this players association to help these guys who are suffering traumatic brain injuries.
How much did the government pay out to the banks to rescue them?
I don't know, but see, that's all been paid back.
All been paid back.
Those banks have paid those things back, but this is JP Morgan saying we screwed up, we're settling, but at the same time, everybody's like, but nobody's going to jail. So money, which is the least of their worries. Money is, they can make it hand over fist.
Right.
Nobody's being held accountable. They're paying for it, and they're saying we're guilty, but there's no one person taking or group of people taking the blame for that.
So how exactly does that filter back down to the people that got kicked out of their brand new homes?
No, it doesn't.
And they're living in tent cities.
I don't think that happens. I doubt it filters down to those people who really need it. It's like when we get, when George W. Bush, God bless him, said, "Here, I'm going to give you a check.
Really?
I'm going to give you a check back for all the taxes, and we're giving you a check back." And it was like, what, $50 a person or something like that. It's just like
stimulate the economy.
I thought of it like Blinko on
Price is Right.
Price is Right. Things just bounce around and
Jesus,
things people.
he got that. I was like, what the fuck's Blinko?
Dude, the Blinko is the best. Everybody loved Blinko when it came on. It was
Please have your pet spayed and neutered.
And now we got Jim Carrey. Or not Jim Carrey. What's his name? Who's the new guy on?
John Kerry?
No. No. He's
Drew
Carrey.
Yes.
The last podcast we bounced around, I was trying to think of John Kerry, and I called him every other Kerry but John.
Including Jim. And I was like, you mean the head
Jim.
Detective, who's now our Secretary of Defense?
Yeah, for like 3 minutes I was calling him Jim, and finally he's like, who in the hell are you talking about?
Cable guy.
And for those of you at home listening to this right now, I edited all that shit out of the last podcast. So if you're wondering, what in the hell is he talking about? I didn't hear any of that. I don't remember him saying anything. I edited that out so I sound smarter.
And the last thing, this is really depressing, was my wife told me she heard a story or read a story about some people went to a party at this house, and they had a bunch of people in the living room, and they heard some noises in the back. I want to say it was a trailer, so I'm not sure how great a party that was. And they heard some noises in the back of the trailer, so somebody went back to the sea, and there was a girl, like a child, like 10 or 11, chained to a bed, almost dead because she was so starved to the point of, not almost being around anymore. And these people came out and said, "What's going on?" and called the police, and all this shit happened. And the people who were throwing the party were just like, "Well, we had shit to do. We got to get the oil changed in the truck, and we got to go to work every day, and we just don't have time." I mean, it's just like,
where was this at?
I think it was somewhere. I actually don't know exactly where it was.
This is a fucking urban legend.
No, it's not.
Spread by Todd. I swear to God.
There was a hook on the door. A bloody hook on the door.
And if you say
Candyman 3 times in the mirror. All right, you're an asshole. We'll just go on to something else. That's pretty much all I had. So,
you already talked about the filibuster?
I said that in the beginning. Yeah. They changed it so that they can filibuster something and the Democrats can push through things to make it easier. But the biggest worry was if they did that, if the Republicans ever got control of Congress, they'd be able to just shove through anything they want. So the Democrats were always holding off, going, do we want to take this chance that when they get in power, they'll really use it against us?
Why can't things just be equal? Why can't it just be you win by 51% of the vote? And I know Rock, who's listening to this, is going, "Oh, you bastards! It shouldn't be 51%. This is not a democracy. It's a republic, and republics, the 49% of the republic shouldn't have to do what the 51 say, and blah blah blah." Which I don't necessarily disagree with, but it's hard to see any civilization that has that and is successful. So, why can't we go back to the way shit was back in the 70s and 80s where, politics generally made sense. And then we got these uber Republicans and uber Democrats in there, and shit's got to get all funky.
And as a liberal progressive person,
I hate it when you do it. Why can't
you don't want me to label it?
I don't like it when you label yourself progressive.
Because I like that word. I think I am progressive. I would consider myself a progressive libertarian. There are certain things that I like about the Libertarian Party, but I don't.
Anybody labels themselves
all right.
progressive.
I have no label. Okay, there is there's a website called No Labels.
Todd is open-minded to a lot of different suggestions.
There you go.
And he's a forward thinker.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Anyways, what was I saying? I can't remember because
I was ranting.
I'm so red. I'm just flush from your compliments. I can't think straight. I can't remember what I was saying.
I was talking about how things had gotten crazy, and why couldn't we just go back to that?
Well, it got bad under when Clinton was in office, right? And so Newt Gingrich and the crew that came in after him, but they even came together and had some compromise. And then I think when W. Bush was in, as much as I didn't care for most of his presidency,
the second one.
Yeah, George W. You had the left wing really go bonkers. Michael Moore's and, really kind of almost just crazy inflammatory kind of stuff.
Yeah, but there was some crazy inflammatory shit that went down during his presidency.
You're right. But now you have the opposite. Now you have the opposite on the right. It's going bonkers on the right. So I don't see, a lot of people think that he's being treated unfairly. Obama is. And I would say that's probably true in some areas. At the same time, with 2020, I can look back and go, maybe we weren't too fair to George W. Bush either, because I can see not understanding everything. And so cutting people slack when they're in a position of power, they want to get in so bad. And then they get in there like, oh, shit. So this is really what it's about.
It's a quagmire.
Holy cow. And I'm not giving them a pass. I'm just saying that maybe we don't get all the information when they're in power. You know what I mean? When they get to the position they want, maybe things are changed.
Which is easy to see when you see the change of modern media and the left versus the right media and the 24-hour news circuits that are constantly, no matter what time of day it is, you can always be inundated with the left sucks or the right sucks. I mean,
there's no middle ground.
If you want to answer to why are we so polarized as a nation, it's because we have 24-hour news networks that hate each other, or at least pretend to hate each other, and their whole reason for broadcasting news is to make fun of the other side.
And that's why I love it, but I feel guilty getting well informed from Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. I mean, I am, and that's why I know some of the things I know, because they mock the shit out of it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, holy cow.
Chuck, are you a fan of Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert?
I actually watch Bill Maher more than anybody.
Oh, yes.
I like Bill Maher's good.
He's probably the one, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't even label him as a political correspondent, but
well, he does a pretty good job of bringing on Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah,
He's really good to Republicans, saying, "Hey, thanks for walking into the lion's den.
Right.
We know it's not going to be easy." And I also like that he doesn't hold back, even though he says that. Defend your point. Give me your position. That's bullshit. He'll call people on things. At the same time, he'll be like, "You're right. Hey, I was for going into Iraq and I was incorrect." I mean, so he's good about that.
You know what actually gave him a lot more credibility in my eyes was when I saw his documentary, Religulous.
Yeah.
And I know the whole point of it, the people that are at home listening to this going, fuck, are you really going to, bang on my religion again?
No.
We're not going to. That's not the point of this podcast. But I thought that, we all knew what the documentary was going to be about. We all knew that he was basically just going to tear everything apart, but he did it in such a refined way and polite and courteous way. When he was talking to people, he was never shitty with people.
Well, he had those guys in the trailer in the parking lot, that one truck stop, and he said, can we pray for you? He's like, sure, go ahead. I was with you. I didn't see the movie in the theaters because I was so worried, because there are times with him that he can get really shitty, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't want to see him just kill people because he doesn't like the way they think.
Right.
And so when I didn't watch it, and then Junior said, we could love it. It's so good. And I was like, oh, is he a dick? I just don't want to see him treating people poorly.
Right.
And he's like, no, it's great. And I was like, awesome.
Which, as a comedian, being on stage and having to deal with hecklers throughout the years, you hear about that from other comedians, how they have just such tough skin and they're just so fucking razor sharp, and somebody says one thing and they just murder them.
I witnessed George Carlin do that to a guy at Cedar Rapids, like one of his last performances here at the Paramount.
When was that? Before the flood?
It was probably 4 or 5 years before the flood, I think. Wow. But it was monumental. The guy just opens his mouth and literally didn't miss a beat. He goes, "Somebody stick a cock in that guy's mouth," like just in 2 seconds. The guy was, obviously drunk and,
sure,
the only one in the crowd. But man, it was just like if there was silence and then laughter. But yeah, so.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think only comedians can do that. But he has that arsenal. He's capable of doing that to somebody. Bill Maher is, but he held back and he was very respectful when he was asking questions, and they seemed very logical questions. They didn't seem like, I gotcha,
right,
dumbass.
Well, I think also when they went to that. Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
So when they went to that amusement park, that born again amusement park, I don't think that he had to do very much. Do you know what I'm saying? He kind of let he just kind of let it do its own thing, and it makes you go, oh wow. And I think the things like that, when I see them, is why I personally think that religion should not be part of politics. Because if you had, and this probably goes along with Bill Maher, if you have people that really fundamentally believe that's the way the world came into being and that's how it all played out and it's to a T, I'm like, I'm just not sure I want you running my country. You know, I'd rather have somebody who is like a hardcore badass businessman with no religious background whatsoever, secular kind of way of running things, than I would somebody who thinks that at any moment Christ is returning, so we got to make sure we protect Israel at every stop, and abortion and everything, just like slamming the door on liberties and stuff like that. That's my struggle with that part.
You know what I think would be funny is if you took any politician or all who, when they are running for office, if they have a lot of political campaigns where they have advertisements where they're just shoving it down your throat how religious they are, in their speeches or whatever, and you almost do like a roast, like on Comedy Central, and they sit in a chair and you play all of these I'm super Christian, and then you play all the things that they've done. Oh, so you had sex with little boys while you were married. What would Jesus say?
Right. Well, I mean, why is that? I mean,
just one after another, just rattle them all off.
Isn't it? But isn't that human nature, though, to like get upset and angry about things we see in other people that we kind of or rail against things that we have issues with ourselves? Like the most recent one, you've seen a lot with like guys who are Republicans who were really anti-gay bashing, and then it turns out they were gay. And the most recent one is the guy in Florida, Trey, Republican from Florida. He was trying to pass a bill, or he did pass a bill that, no, he didn't pass it. Sorry.
Jesus, do you have anything right?
Sorry. No, I don't think so. I need another shot. And so he tried to pass a bill so that if we were on welfare, you had to pass a piss test.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So he just got caught with cocaine.
Hey.
I'm not shitting you.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a perfect example. So he's wanting so he's like, oh, we can't let these people have, so.
Listen, I actually thought, I think because you lose the message in the delivery. That guy is delivering that message, and a lot of Democrats look at it's coming up from a Republican point of view, so we're gonna hate it no matter what he says. But the message is actually decent. If my tax money is going to you for any reason, whether you're if you're a government employee or you're on welfare, yeah, take a piss test or fuck off. Mm-hmm. Don't take my money. That's my tax money that I'm giving you. So,
but doesn't it make the assumption though that if you're poor and you're on welfare, then you do drugs? That's what. That seems what he kind of was going against.
Okay, but here's the thing: he was doing cocaine. So if that bill would have passed, and all government employees and everybody on welfare, whoever got a check, had to do a piss test once 6 months, once a month, whatever, mm-hmm. He would have been out of a job. It would have bit him too. So I look at that and go,
sure.
All right.
If that passed, there'd probably be a huge spike in cataract claims, I'm guessing, for probably.
I have back injuries, and we all have residency in California.
Yeah, you're not kidding. God. I can't wait till it's on the ballot next year in Iowa for marijuana use in Iowa.
All right.
Really?
You know what?
Medical use of marijuana in Iowa. Sorry.
I still want to know how it affects the corporations in California and Denver, right? Because
Washington.
I'm sorry, Washington.
No, you're right. All those places.
When it's legal, when you have a receipt or whatever, a doctor's excuse saying, yeah, you can smoke this, it stays in your system for so long. If I go to work and they do a random piss test right now, if I were to have smoked marijuana, I'm fired. But if it comes into being legal into Iowa and I smoked marijuana and it was a week ago, but I accidentally, because of human nature, ran a forklift into something and wrecked a piece of equipment, I go for a piss test. They're like, yeah, you're high. You're positive for marijuana. So, I mean, how does that affect corporations? How does it affect the legal ramifications?
Because you can't go to work drunk. I mean, that's it's along the same lines. Right, I know Joe Rogan would totally disagree with that and say that you're much more functional on marijuana than you are on alcohol. And part of me understands that because when you're drunk, you're really out of sorts. When you're high, it's not like that.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like that.
All right, I didn't know that. All I know is that when you smoke pot, you laugh almost so hard you choke on your tongue.
Okay, I don't get giddy and laugh.
Oh, okay.
So, but I think
I'm a happy drug user. I'm a happy drug user. Hey, you know what? Maybe we should ask Chuck what he does. Chuck, what do you...
what does Chuck do?
We're talking about
He's
current
just sitting
events
here
and things
quietly, patiently waiting.
But yeah, hey, who are you, Chuck? Why are you
Who
here?
am I? Why am I here to pimp myself and pimp my product?
Sell yourself.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Brother.
Well, I'm here to talk about I'll call it my side business, which, it's an art form, but I do custom leather goods. And no, I do not do whips and things like that of the sorts.
That was going to be a question.
And I'm sure that was going to come up. But
sweet chokers, though.
I should say not yet. Yeah, chokers, yep. And no ball gags yet for anybody listening. But
you did preface it with yet.
Yeah.
Nice.
But mostly wearable goods. I do watches, cuffs, belts, and guitar straps.
Saddlebags?
Not yet. But I do. I did get into conceal and carry holsters. So,
I saw that.
Yes. So I am a Second Amendment advocate as far as if you carry it, I will make it a nice piece for you to carry it with. So.
Which is
so
awesome.
it doesn't so to prevent chafing, I should add.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that cold blue steel against their skin.
Exactly. Yeah.
How did you get into this? How did you get into leather working?
It all honestly it started with the flood. I travel a lot for my day job, and I just at night I'm a big fan of music. So I'd go to some pretty cool cities. So I'd always go out and try to find either up and coming artists or artists that I grew up with, just a local, like a concert that night in the city that I was in or that week that I was there. So with that, you just kind of explore you stop someplace to eat, you explore cool neighborhoods, you end up at in a little weird part of town of Seattle, and you just see how people dress. And it's just so different from Iowa. And I love that because, I grew up in a big family, hand-me-downs, all that stuff. But I grew up in the, latter part of the 70s and the 80s when, the 70s fashion was cool. There was cool stuff, especially, when you look back, like the way people dress, there's a period where you made fun of the disco era in the 70s and the early 70s and like the rock stars. But then, it all started coming full circle where vintage stuff was the thing to wear. Mm-hmm. And everybody in these cities was wearing just cool old stuff, especially leather. So I was instantly drawn to like the leather jackets, the boots, the old thick watches that the hippies used to wear, and I was like, I just fell in love with that. So I'd go to, I'd find out where they were buying it at. I'd talk to them, go to the stores. And that just kind of like brought this passion on for that type of just design and the way people dressed. And so when I'd start buying stuff and bringing it back home and wearing it, and I'd always get these looks like, kind of not an odd look, like, well, kind of the look like, well, you're not from here. Oh, did you just move here from somewhere? You look like you're not from. And I'm like, nah, I'm born and raised in Cedar Rapids. My mom grew up on a farm in Southern Iowa. It's like people have a tough time connecting in this town or just in Iowa in general. People that dress differently, they label you instantly.
Sure,
they're like,
sure.
oh, they put some good, bad, or indifferent. They put a label on you that you're not from around here or you're, whatever.
And Cedar Rapids, God bless it, is a pretty great city, but it is conservative in that sense.
Yeah, and I love it here. I mean, I never moved away. I've always traveled for my job and wanted to make this my home base. But so part of that, I guess, the reaction to how I dressed brought out the desire to want to create this brand to say that, hey, here's this cool leather stuff that you can buy and wear, and guess what? It's made here by a person that grew up here and that's seen how other people dress and just the uniqueness and the I guess probably the most important thing is that the attributes that like a big watch or a different belt or just some other accoutrement that somebody else might not wear, that just I wanted to put up a flag to people to say, hey, it's all right if you do this. If you're from Iowa, you don't have to go to the Buckle and buy all your clothes. You don't have to, there's more stores out there. It's a big world.
Right.
So I literally bought a book on the history of leather crafting probably 4 years ago maybe. And I read it cover to cover and I was just captivated. I mean, we're talking, this book went back to Egyptian times and how Egyptians used leather for transportation and clothing and sandals and whatever, all the way up to, the cowboys and the saddles and the jackets and the hats and whatever to modern day how it was used. So I was fascinating. And so I literally went out, took $200 and bought $200 worth of leather and tools, and I made a belt and I wore it. And a buddy of mine's like, "Oh man, that's cool. I could use one of those." So I made one for him, and then his wife wanted one, and then it just word of mouth spread. And then, after about 2 months, I'm like, and one part I skipped was the flood. The flood, I was sandbagging around Mercy Hospital, and that's where I was actually born at. And I was standing there in crappy, oily, shitty river water in my chest, and I'm just sandbagging to no avail. Like, it's pointless. Like, what we're doing is pointless. I don't even know what we're saving at this point, but we're doing it. And I just, like, volunteer time for the next 2 years, you could quit your job and volunteer every day, and it still wasn't going to be enough. So something about that, coupled with the fact of the trips I was taking, was like, I want to make a brand that I can make stuff. It's made locally, sold hopefully everywhere, but a portion of the proceeds stay in town to go back to, ongoing, just the rebuilding and revitalization of the whole downtown area and New Bow and Checktown. So that's what kind of planted the seed, and here I am. So yeah, it word of mouth spread. I put up a Facebook page. The website's, hopefully launching in December. And yeah, I'm in a few shops in the Cherry Building, and I do art shows. And
Cherry Building's fantastic too right now. God, they're doing a great job down there. New Bow Market in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's a building across from the New Bow Market itself. And they have lots of artists in there. Potters. Yep. They have my sister was in town who's a professional potter, and we just happened to walk by the outside area, and she's like, "What's going on in that building?" And I was like, "Why?" She's like, "That's a fire kiln right there. Yeah. What's going on in there?" And we had to go in there and look, because she's like, "Holy cow, that's really neat." So, I mean, and she's from out of town, and she thought it was really awesome that area is really trying to be, revitalized, and a lot of unique people are involved in it. So good for you being down there. That's fantastic.
I love, my dream, my goal is to have like a storefront somewhere in that neighborhood, just an old building, gut it, tin ceilings, decorate it in barnwood. There's actually a farmer here in just outside of Cedar Rapids that he built a lot of my shelves, like display shelves that I take to art shows. Builds it all out of reclaimed barnwood, yes. And it's beautiful. And I'm like, but he also does like interior decorating. So if you want to do like a den with barnwood paneling, he'll do it. So I keep thinking about that. It's like, I've got the vision in my head. It's just, I got a career to pay the bills, and right. I'm a realist. I'm not stupid, and good insurance and, benefits and all that. But there's still part of me that, on weekends and at nights when I'm not traveling, I'm in my shop cranking stuff out, just building this fund that, and maybe it's when I retire. Who cares? Maybe at
the very least, you build up a nice little nest of stuff that you've created over the years, and people can come in and look through it all. And who knows? And I also add, not just from the website, but you and I were talking possibly about doing something for my son, and reasonably priced. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, I think you need to jack it up just a tad.
Yeah,
because it's beautiful. It's handmade. It's just gorgeous stuff. So we like you said, the Buckle. You can't go to the Buckle and buy a pair of jeans now without spending $80. Yeah. So it's like, again, homemade here in town.
The Buckle is still around?
I think there's one left. I think.
And I'm by no it. If anybody's listening and you shop there, forgive me, but if you want to spend that much on a belt, come see me and I'll make one that nobody else has, and not the one that
super unique
every other guy has.
So from one artist to another, I used to do metal artwork. Okay. And people would always say, "Hey, I like that. How much is it?" And I don't know if every artist feels this way.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because it is so hard. It was for me. I was like, I felt like I felt like an asshole. I was like, okay, shit. 300?
Yeah.
250?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I actually got some really good advice from an artist in Iowa City, and what she told me was good advice in the sense that I understood what she was saying, but I kind of split it right down the middle. She said, you got to remember you're still in Iowa. You're not in, if you were in New York or San Francisco or
New Orleans
or Seattle or
someplace.
someplace, a big Chicago, just a big city with a big artisan with a larger population of people with money, then yeah, if you want to sell a watch for $300, people are going to bend over backwards and probably fight people out of the way to get the one they want. But when you're in Iowa, you know, you have to bear in mind with the people that are most exposed to the product. And now, okay, so that's where I stopped pretty much listening, because the whole point of this is that the money, a portion of everything I sell is staying local. I'm giving it back. I mean, I'm not, you know, there's a percent that stays here to go back to help the community. But I have a website. I don't care where you live. You know, you can live everywhere on this. If you have a computer and you live on this planet, you can access my stuff, you know? So why should I limit my pricing locally to a product that's going to be sold globally?
Right.
So that's where like I said, I almost stopped listening to what she said, because it was good advice. Yeah, you're right. If I'm doing an art show, which by the way, I'm Davenport on December 7th at the Skywalk in downtown Davenport. It's the Handmade City. I do it every year. It's a pre-holiday show. It's awesome. If you like local handmade anything, cool stuff, come there. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Anyways, so if I'm doing shows like that, I will carry a larger balance of my $20 to $40 cuffs and, you know, $50 belts, just because I know that I can get it in volume versus the quality, but I'm still going to have the $250 watches and the $150 belts that, you know, and obviously as an artist, you know, the time you put in translates to the appearance of the product. Not that my $20 stuff looks cheap, but you can tell just by the hand tooling, the coloring, you know, the design of it and the shape of it that I spent less time on it, and time is money. So knowing that when I go into shows like that, I load up on stuff that I spend less time on. I can crank out volume because I know that a $20 cuff or 2 for $35, I'm going to sell those all day long. The $250 watch, you know, if I sell one of them, great. If I don't, well, hopefully I'll make up with all the cuffs that I've made. So, but it's tough because I think I really want to brand myself as a premium product. Like, there's that part of me that's like, oh, stop making the $20 cuffs. Yeah, it's, you know, it's scrap leather, not scrap in the sense that it's bad leather, but I mean, when you have an entire cowhide, at some point in time, when you cut a length of belt, you're going to be left over with a length of leather that you can't make another belt out of. So you've got to make something with it. So you take that and you cut it down. You go, oh, I can make 2 cuffs out of that or 3 cuffs out of that. So, and they're quick and they're easy. So but there still comes a point in time where it's like, do I take that and make 3, you know, less expensive cuffs, or do I say, you know what, I'm going to take this piece of leather and I'm going to make one kick-ass $100 cuff out of it. So just because it's the perception thing, you know, it's like if you're like Louis Vuitton, you mention that name, you know, you're going to spend $1,000 on a purse or more, but you don't buy Louis Vuitton to spend, you know, it's not like a gift you buy someone and spend $50 on. You're gonna drop a load every time you buy something with that brand name. So that's probably the point I'm struggling with the most as an artist is trying to have a price where you can offload your stuff and get it out there. Yep.
And at the same time have people go, yeah, I am totally willing to spend X amount of dollars high end because this is really good quality stuff. My wife and I had gone down to New Orleans for our for our honeymoon, and she goes, I had to show you this stuff. I had to show you this picture. So we went to an art gallery, finally found it, and it was this metal piece of artwork. And when we're done, I'll show you. It's upstairs. But she goes, I just love it. And I looked at the price tag and I go, yeah, you're just going to have to keep imagining how much you love that.
Yeah.
When we came back home from there, I went over to my grandfather's place, an old farmer, and I said, Grandpa, you know how to weld, right? He goes, yep. Yeah, I go, if I drew something out on a piece of plywood, and then would you go with me to like a metal shop and show me like what metal to buy? This is what I'm thinking of. And then could you show me how to weld? Sure. And so we recreated that picture. Now I don't sell recreations of other people's work.
Right.
But that was for her, and I was like, wow, I can do this. And then somebody else saw it, and then I started doing a couple of my own pieces. But then I looked at his pieces and I said, okay, I can do about exactly the same thing quality-wise as he's doing. But his stuff's going for thousands of dollars.
Right.
So I thought, okay, I would be really happy with $500. But again, it's where was I? I was at the Marion Art Festival years ago, and I had all these pictures up. I wasn't in a great location. I was in this like alley because I didn't get my name in quick enough. But there was an art boutique, a store there, and she said, "Hey, I own the store, and you can totally set up shop in the alley right here, and we'll have a booth in the front. We'll bring people in." But again, I think because I didn't understand the pricing, I didn't understand my customer base and what people are willing to spend, that it was only a couple pieces at most. And then I was just kind of diffused by the whole thing. I just really deflated and like, I don't think I'll spend all my time in my garage welding.
Well, and the hard part is you go back to the idea that wasn't even Cedar Rapids, that was Marion, an even smaller part of our area, in an alley, in a very small art show, which is a great art show, but a small art show. Yeah. And you're off in a corner by yourself with all those other things magnifying that you're really, there was no focus on you. If you had a tent or part of a tent out in the middle of the Marion Art Square, you would have had 1,000 more people just walk by and see it, let alone be in that alley.
And the other thing that I thought was really intimidating as somebody who wanted to get into making art and selling art was, has that picture, or is a picture like that whatever one I create in my head, has it been trademarked? Am I going to get sued because it's too similar to something else? Just taxes.
Yeah.
It can be really intimidating. My mother, she had her own interior painting business, created it herself. She was her only employee. Well, when the stock market crashed and nobody had money anymore to spend on frivolous things here in the area, she had no clients. So her tax lawyer goes, well, you had to pay yourself unemployment. And my mom said, I don't think you understand what I'm the only employee and I'm the owner and I have no work. There's no money coming in. Yeah, you have to pay yourself unemployment, which makes 0 sense. It was so daunting when I heard this stuff that there was other people that were like, hey, I'll help build you a web page, or hey, I'll help with your business plan. And I thought, I'm so intimidated by all of this. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
I might make a piece for somebody if they see it and they're like, hey, here's some cash for a piece. Yeah. One here or there. But how did you deal with it? And is it intimidating to you just thinking about all that stuff? Or do you have people helping you with that?
I would say that my day job prepared me. I work in manufacturing. I do like process improvement, continuous improvement in manufacturing. So I've always been exposed to the manufacture of goods. So, and even in college, I worked at a factory to help in the summers to help pay for college. And so literally from a pretty young age, I was exposed to making a product and, that somebody consumed or used or whatever. So that side of it, I knew the process, how, your time and materials relate to your cost of your product. And from that, you need to develop a profit margin basically to survive, pay bills, pay insurance, whatever. So I've looked at all of that, but the thing that I haven't even fathomed was let's just say by the grace of God that this blows up and all of a sudden I got to hire employees and, have 2 or 3 people working for me to crack stuff out to fill orders, I haven't even thought about that.
And that was actually a really legitimate scare of mine.
Yeah, no.
Because I was the only one making these pictures and if we put it on, and we did have a website for a little while, and I thought, oh my God, if 50 or 100 orders come in.
And on the internet now, that's not too crazy idea at all.
And I did the backwards math basically from I took my salary with my day job, and I did the reverse math with salary plus benefits and everything. I did the reverse math basically. If I were to do this as a full-time thing, how based on my average price of a product and the time it takes me to make the average time to make a product, how many pieces per day would I have to make?
Sure.
5 days a week. I've already done that. And it was 3 to 5 pieces per day for a 5-day week, which,
that sounds like a lot.
Because on average, I mean, a low, on the shorter end, 2 hours on most pieces. But yeah, when you talk about like a really elaborate guitar strap, I mean,
sure,
that might take me 8-10 hours, or more. So yeah, I mean, it was an average, but of course I'm going to charge a much higher price for that. But yeah, so I mean, I've done that math, but I don't know.
Do you really? Do you hope for the day that can happen, or do you enjoy your job enough that you're good with it, and you can do this on the side? It's satisfying.
I do, and I'm content with that state that I'm in now. But still, there's those days where you're like, I fucking hate corporate America. There's days like that where you're like, I want to get out from underneath that.
Sure. I'm
my own best boss. I mean, I know what I want deep down. I know what I want to do. I'm my own best goal maker. It's just, for 18 years, my goals have been somebody else's,
Right.
So there's just, and that's, maybe that's a midlife crisis thing, call it what you will, but it's still just the simple fact that when I do my leather, I'm using a part of my brain that I don't get to use. It's doing something that I'm passionate about, fashion and made in Iowa and made in America, there's just all of those things I'm really, gets me excited, and I'm like, and then when you see someone wearing it on the streets, you're like, hey, you don't want to run up and say, hey, I made that, but it's just
that's awesome.
It's enough just to see that hey, someone's wearing your belt, and you're like, oh, that's cool.
Well, and I think that knowing how I think leather's getting more popular, and then at the same time the unique twist you have on it. I mean, it's obviously beautiful stuff on top of that, and then I right away start thinking about all the things you could do, because you talked about saddlebags like a motorcycle. It's just Jesus, could you imagine a seat or a saddlebag?
Yeah, I mean, that's
God.
It's a very I mean, and jackets. Like I have a collection of probably like 10 vintage leather jackets from like the probably late 60s to mid 70s. Various price ranges, but some of them are like uber collectible from like, there's a company called East West Musical Instruments Company that was popular in San Francisco in the late 60s and early 70s. It was basically this group of like 5 vagabonds who, in the Haight-Ashbury area, which is why I was passionate about going there a few weeks ago when I saw you, was
it's a unique place, man.
This jacket was born there, so it's like, but that was when people made stuff and traded stuff, but all of like, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, like you can name pretty much every major rock star from the 60s wore this stuff. But it was just this little hole in the wall shop where these hippies just, probably charge next to nothing. Maybe they, people with money, maybe they charge something, but hey, if their friend wants something, maybe they'd trade a bag of weed for it. I don't know.
Right.
But like, it was cool stuff, but it's really rare now. And I have one of those in my collection. So it's like, my fiance, thank you again. She got it for me for Christmas a couple years ago. But that type of stuff, just seeing that is so cool and unique. It's like that would be the ultimate. Is if I could get back into like mimicking those type of jackets, take the flair that they had and the uniqueness, and just get it back out in the market. But again, yeah, that. Seats, saddlebags, I mean, all that stuff.
That's cool. And what's neat about Haight-Ashbury is there are still places like that.
Yeah.
There's a t-shirt store. It's like a little door, and it's a little wooden door, and you duck through, and there's like the coolest fucking t-shirts you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, it's just, I've been there so many times in my life, and have gotten the chance to take my wife there a couple times now, and every time we go, we just love just walking around because there's so many things. It's changed since the last time I was there. Somebody may have taken over a storefront, and it's got some new product in it, and it's just super, super unique. It's gotten a little chic a little bit here and there, so things are pretty expensive. The t-shirt place I was talking about, they're like $35-$40 t-shirts.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, some of them were really cool, and I had never seen them before. And that's part of the appealing of it too, is the uniqueness of some of those items. So
because you wear that back here, and it's not that you're trying to draw attention to yourself, but you just like, I don't know. There's like when you're wearing it through an airport or wearing it someplace around here, you're like, I don't know. There's just something about it's like I'm the only one with this T-shirt on right now. It's pretty cool because people just
it is cool. I mean, even like I have a friend who owns a clothing company in Arizona. We hope to have him on at some point, and it's. NHL and USA Hockey League, people are wearing his T-shirts all the time, but nobody knows about it here. And he went to Kennedy High School and that kind of thing. And first of all, I love the frickin' T-shirts and clothing because they're so damn comfortable, but nobody wears it. Nobody has it here. And I've been telling people who are like big Rough Rider fans and stuff like that, get on this website. The T-shirts are fantastic. It just doesn't seem like it's catching on out here, but it's huge in other parts of the country. So, I mean, it's kind of neat I like that feeling of.
And it's not about being, like I said, being arrogant or drawing attention to yourself. It's just for me, it's about just getting the word out. Like, don't be afraid to dress different, or don't be afraid to, have something that 20 other people have in this town. It's just.
I think it's all about being unique and being your own person.
You know what this kind of speaks to is my being jaded about different cities. We've had podcasts before about me saying, there's nothing special about that city or this city.
Yeah.
We were talking about Labor Day and what certain cities meant to the country at such a date in history. And, Todd's going on and on and on about, it's so great, St. Louis. And I thought, big whoop. What's great about St. Louis? What's so great about San Francisco? Because it has become so commercialized.
Yeah.
It's just so boring. It's almost drab.
Yeah.
You're talking about you dressing differently or you having the cuffs, and there's just a little bit that's a little bit unique.
Yeah.
Not arrogant or anything, but just there's a uniqueness to different clothing, a different look. Whereas I look at the world and it's very gray. It's very drab because everything I think is the same. Because the Walmarts all over the world, and you're getting the exact same T-shirt here in Iowa at a Walmart that you would in Denver at a Walmart. And so to see somebody that's making something unique and getting it out there, it's like, there's a little splash of color. That's how I look at you when people do things like that, or when you talk about these T-shirts that are so unique. I'm so unaccustomed to that. I would probably walk in and pass out. Because I'm just like, what? There's something other than just a gray, drab world. There's something other than just commercialism and McDonald's.
Right. No.
Because that's how I look at it when I go into other cities, because I really liked your take on it. Well, I travel a lot, so I go to this city, and I'm like, hey, who's playing now? That's really cool, because I was telling Todd, you know what? I only have X amount of dollars on vacation. I only have so many hours a year for vacation. And when my wife and I go on vacation somewhere, if we do, I'm already thinking about everything that's getting charged on the credit card.
Yep.
I'm only going to be there a couple of days. I'm going to be in a hotel. I haven't really checked out the nightlife. I'm in and I'm out and I'm back. And so I'm generally going to only see what's brightly lit in my face, and that's the general sameness of
that everybody else is doing.
So it's awesome to highlight these things that, hey, look, this is a little bit different. Go here. That's really awesome.
I didn't go to the extent that Chuck did, but when I used to travel in other cities for work way back in the day, working for the man, I just liked walking around because it's all unfamiliar, and I like the feeling of being transported to somewhere else where I have no idea. I have no familiarity with anything.
You can't do that. You can't do it in a car. You can't. Right. I mean, you just can't. You can't.
Well, I love people downtown watching, though. Like not in a judgmental way, but I just like people watching, because I think that's what makes. You remove all the people and you dump yourself in the middle of a city, and there's buildings and they all look the same. Maybe there's different history or whatever, but still. The people walking around and just, again, how they act, how they dress, if they're homeless, if they're in a suit, doesn't matter. Just that's the part I like, is because just in different parts of the world, they act differently. people asking you for change, approach you differently, and they've got a different accent, or they've got the East Coast accent versus the California accent. It's just, that's the part that I like, is you get to absorb a lot of these different things that, I don't know, you just, Midwest is pretty, we're pretty reserved and laid back for the most part. So like, I literally felt like a hick when I go to these towns sometimes, but when I come back, I feel like, I guess, less of a hick here,
Sure.
than.
Well, it's like when I've only been to New York one time, but at one point I just realized that I'm walking around with my neck craned upward because I'm just astounded by everything. Yeah. But after a while, just like, fuck it. I'm not from here, so this is amazing. So I'm not going to worry about being a goddamn tourist. I want to look around. And some of, like you said, some of those buildings, if you look up, they got some incredibly beautiful architecture, super unique. And how often are you going to be in places like that? Yeah. I'm a big fan of Chicago. I think Chicago is an incredible city, and being a history teacher, I love Chicago for what it represents, of being kind of like the filter of what everything that happened in the United States at some point happened in Chicago. Whatever historical thing took place, it started there or went through there. I'm a big fan. I mean, obviously I was born in San Francisco, but I mean, you can't find a more unique city in my mind in the United States of America. It has so many things happen there, whether you like California or not. So many things happen there, and I'm a little excluding LA a little bit. I'm kind of not a huge LA fan, but I just like San Francisco because it's so unique. I mean, I think, to me, and this is horrible, I think LA is a little bit more of a superficial kind of place. San Francisco is kind of just seeped in history. It's just a very, I don't know. It's a really nostalgic place.
The best car chase scene in the history of cinema was filmed in
you got
Bullet, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a fastback? That Mustang?
It was. Wasn't it the one? Wasn't it the Lenore from? Wasn't it similar to the Lenore from Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yeah. So I think it's a fastback. Yeah. My dad had a Mach 1 when I was a little kid. He got rid of it to buy a station wagon when I was born. God,
damn it! See, could have been yours.
That's what I said.
You see what kids do to you?
Yeah. Maybe that's why he's always so mad at me. I'm just kidding. He's never mad at me. But I do you know what? You talk about unique situations. Your fiance.
Yes.
Now, she is a country artist, correct?
She is. Her name's Tammy Jason, TammyJason.com. You can find her on Facebook. She is, it's funny because we met on eHarmony. So she's from Calgary, Alberta.
Get the fuck out of here.
Story.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't hear a lot of success stories from eHarmony.
Really?
No, I don't hear a lot of success stories from any online dating. I hear about people getting laid.
Like Match.com to me is I don't know if you guys remember Borrowed Bucks or DeSotas, but they are. I used
to bounce there. Yes, I do.
Okay, so they are the Borrowed Bucks and DeSotas of online dating, because I mean, Match is basically where you go because I mean it's too. And I never tried that. I went straight to eHarmony just because I was like really reserved about like doing it. It was the first time I'd done it. This was 4 years ago. And I was like, you know what? But the thing that I did differently was I left it open to the whole world, because I was like, I'm from here. I've lived here my whole life. Pretty much everybody I'd ever dated was from here. So I was like, screw it. There's somebody on the planet that's right for me, And,
sure.
and when I went in with that attitude, I was like, I was open to anything. Plus I travel. So geography wasn't really an issue at that point in time. But yeah, then it just, lo and behold, it worked out. So she's from Calgary. She's in Houston now, trying to make her way to Cedar Rapids eventually. So hopefully, but yeah, she got an album out, recorded all in Nashville. 12 of the 14 songs I think in the album she wrote. 2 of them she co-wrote with another writer.
What was the contest that she was doing? I was kind of following that via your Facebook page.
It's the Texaco Country Music Showdown. So for the second year in a row, she made it to the state finals. Last year, she was a state finalist in Texas, and this year she was a state finalist in Iowa. Wow. It's a great contest. It's one of the oldest. It's basically the country music's version of American Idol, but it just doesn't get the commercial or the TV access up until the finals. And the finals are held in Nashville at the Ryman Auditorium, and they're on like the TNN network. So, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, she's got the album, she's got the career history and the track record. Just the main thing she doesn't have is just the backing for the promotion, and that's really she's doing these contests to try to get that exposure. But she's got a good following on the website, but yeah, she didn't win the state finals, but she did get an invite from the Riverside talent manager to play there anytime she wanted. So
sweet. I like Riverside.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is getting in and being able to play live and sell albums. So
and actually making a living at what you love doing.
Exactly.
Right. So, yep. So
very cool.
We actually had a conversation about it. To me, I think it's such a unique quality in somebody who's willing to say, I'm not going to do the norm. I'm actually going to just stop and go this direction.
Yep.
Because that's the direction I want to be in. And yeah, I might not make a lot of money now. Eventually, I'm going to be a success at this. But I'm not going to let my fear make me make a bitch move.
Yeah.
Like for so much of my life, I thought, well, what's a responsible thing? Okay, I'll do the responsible thing. I'm not going to do what I really want to do. I'm going to do the responsible thing. And it's unique, it's admirable, and it's really special when you see people say, this is what I love doing. Fuck it.
And that's what makes them, to me, that's what makes them appealing. They're appealing because they are doing those things. I think that at a subconscious level, maybe that you're like going, man, they're going after it, and they're taking those chances and taking those risks, and I'm sitting back on the sidelines watching, and so that's unique
because they're the different thing. Like I was saying before, everything is kind of drab to me, but then you talk about, hey, I have this unique wristband. This is what we're doing, and this is the place you can go in this city, and the cool shirts, and you appreciate it, and it's like, oh, there's like these little patches of bright color that I'm not aware of because I'm just so Walmart.
You may have to look though.
I'm going to have to look.
You're going to have to look at some point.
Put some effort into this.
Well, that's why we've talked about us going to California together, because then we can go places so you don't have to go to the Holiday Inn and stay in a certain area and only see the things in the area. We can take you to places that are awesome.
You're not going to take me by any sharks, are you?
No. Well, I did the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon in San Francisco.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And
while you were out there
No, this was in March.
Okay.
And he was dead serious.
There's fucking sharks in the water.
You're important to me. I love you. I care about you. You've got to not do this. So
do you have to swim
from Alcatraz to the shore?
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a doozy. But he was honestly extremely worried.
Like,
and even when I said to him,
so if Clint Eastwood can do it in the movie, then
well, he went to Angel Island supposedly. So
is there a difference between Angel Island and Alcatraz?
Angel Island's a outcropping on the Saratoga side of the bridge. It's a little bit closer. So on the north side of the bridge is a little bit an island that comes out. It's a little bit closer than San Francisco.
I didn't know that.
And there's less currents on the north side of Alcatraz than because the channel's bigger on the south side of Alcatraz by the city.
Wow. A little bit of knowledge that people can just reach up and put it in their pocket.
I actually just did because I did not know that. So, and I've watched that movie like 10 times. So,
and the cool thing is too is one thing I was able to calm his fears on is from the Sierra Valley Mountains. I think they say there's 50 million gallons of water enter the bay every 10 seconds or some crazy shit like that. And so because it's so cold and the bay is so deep, it goes the cold water sinks and pushes all the warm, salty water to the top. So it's almost like a brine.
Yeah.
And fish can't survive in it. It's just sea lions and stuff like that. So there are no sharks. An occasional whale, that kind of shit, but nothing dangerous. So it was still scary as hell.
Sharks in the water. There's no physical barrier between where you were and a shark who is like, you know what? I'm going to go into that really salty water.
It's so cute that you're still worried about this after it's all over.
I'm not necessarily worried about you because it's over, but I'm not going anywhere near that.
I know. But the cool part is that part of the run was down by Baker's Beach, which is down the coast from San Francisco, and that's where the shark attack happened in real life that initiated the book for Jaws. And then Steven Spielberg lives in that area I
thought the shark attack that inspired Stephen King was on the East Coast.
Steven Spielberg's movie. No, it was on the West Coast.
Did I say Stephen King?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, it's all right.
But the movie was based off of the East Coast, I think. Wasn't it Cape Cod that the movie was part of? Is it East Coast?
Seemed like it.
It was an East Coast kind of thing, but it started on the West Coast at Baker's Beach. So when I was jogging it, I was laughing because I was going, he shouldn't have been so worried about that. This is the beach this is the ocean you should be worried about. So
yeah, I haven't seen Jaws in a long time, but I've seen a lot of John Kerry's movies. I mean, since I'm just going to hamburger everybody's name tonight, I might as well just keep going.
He was great in Ace Ventura.
Well, he was. Can you imagine? Can you
And I was
imagine?
negotiating nuclear talks with Iran. It's just incredible how this happens.
Doesn't that blow your mind? It blows my mind when you see politicians campaign and you're seeing them on television, like the Daily Show, little clips, and you're reminded how dumb they act at times. And then you hear that they're negotiating nuclear treaties.
Well, think about how he was so badly mocked when he was running for president. More because of the way he just talks and it just kind of goes on.
Before I was against it, then I was against it, then I was for it.
And the windsurfing, just love it.
I don't remember the windsurfing.
It had a pic. I think it was trying to make it like the commercial for Dukakis when he's in the tank driving, and the big ad that just burnt down his whole entire campaign. Still considered the worst photo op of all time, of him in a suit sticking up out of a tank with a paddle helmet on. Just looks so ridiculous. John Kerry has some pictures out there of him windsurfing. Okay. They're trying to make him point him as an elitist, wealthy person, which of course he is. But
okay,
what are you gonna do? You are who you are. When you're married to the Hines family, you're gonna be pretty wealthy.
But let's get back to Chuck for a second.
Oh, I want to know more about the music too. So does she perform around here at all, or is she all over the place?
Just really, actually, since she released her album, just the performances have been scattered. But like, she has a career too, so that's part.
Okay. She is.
Yes, that's part. That's part of what drew us together, is that we're both in the state of, working for the man. However, we've got this artistic side that we're like ready to like splooge out onto the world, if that's a proper way to say that.
No, that's right. Really awesome visual.
So she's from Canada.
Yeah, Calgary.
And is she living where she lived? Does she live here in
Houston? She's in Houston.
Oh, she's in Houston.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and her day job took her down there, and there's just Houston obviously is a big mecca for country music. So like making it to the state finals last year in Texas is a pretty big deal.
I was gonna say.
Because you think people listen to country music in Iowa, like you have no idea. Like you struggle to find a top 40 or a good rock station. Not that I listen to top 40, but you struggle to find those in Canada, or excuse me, in Houston when you're like dialing through the stations. So
you don't strike me as a Justin Bieber fan. Just I'm just throwing it out there. So and what was her name again?
Tammy Jason.
Tammy Jason.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So
very cool. Well, this is your podcast, so we want to throw Tammy's name out there just so we can. That's very cool.
Do you have a moral line that you draw with your I mean, you said I don't do whips. So is there a moral line, or have you just not found that person that's like, hey man, I'll pay you like 12
That could be a really
grand.
expensive niche
for a pair of assless chaps or something.
Yeah, I mean, I want these.
Shit, I didn't even think about that.
Or
what a great idea.
I want the baddest fucking leather bra for my lady, and it's got to be custom.
Oh man,
I she's got to come in for a fitting. It's a terrible thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Where do you draw your moral line?
I would find a way somehow
to deal with it,
to make it. Yeah, I mean, if it came to that, I mean, let me back up. Again, in my days in manufacturing and whatever, it's all about customers, and you always try to listen to the voice of the customer. So I've taken that to my leather business, obviously. But so yeah, I guess if the situation were correct, meaning the money was right, then if someone asked me to do something custom, then I would find a way to make it. I'd go out and find a pattern. I would Google whatever I needed to find out.
But you wouldn't have a moral aptitude not to make something.
Right? Oh, probably not. No. I mean,
if somebody wants a cat whip, a cat's tail whip. I mean, big fucking deal.
I wouldn't. I probably, let's put it this way. I would have no problem making. I just probably wouldn't sell it as a regular item on my website. But the one-off shit, yeah. I mean, I'll do whatever. I mean,
I can tell my wife about that.
The reason why I bring it up is because we have a whole lot of Harley Davidson is huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, in the summertime, you get some of these windy roads, and it's like, holy shit, there's just a pack of bikers.
Yeah.
And it's Anamosa, right? That has the
JP Cycles.
JP Cycles. Mm-hmm. It's really big, and people are always trying to customize their bikes in such a way, or the leather jackets, or the gloves, or the hats.
Well, and that's part of like a segue that I wanted to start with. Like a buddy of mine, I did a tank bib for him. And then I did on the same bike, I did his battery cover. I did kind of a cool, it was all stainless, and I just kind of broke up the stainless with like a strip of textured leather with like these copper rivets sticking out of it, so it looked really rugged looking. So I have done bike pieces, but the transition is that hey, everybody likes a big, thick, black looking leather cuff with a watch on it, or a bike rider. So what's a good step of products that I currently make and offer that I could get into, going to Conesville or, taking a trip to Sturgis and setting up a booth there, selling stuff I make, and then getting feedback from people going, hey, do you make, just trying to, I guess, build up not a survey, but more or less a request list of, can you do these other things? Because then to me, it tells me that the demand is there. So maybe some time and effort spending and learning that is worth it,
Right.
It's one thing to say if someone comes up to me and goes, hey, can you make this? And I'll pay you $1,000 for it. I'm like, yeah, I'll find a way to do it. But if it's, can you make this one certain item, but
you won't make it again for years and years.
Yeah, it's like I'll make it, but is it something that I would add to my regular like line of products that I would make? So I guess at this point in kind of what I do make, input like that would be helpful.
Do you feel like the art shows and the things you've been doing to kind of get the brand out there and get your stuff out there, so to speak, do you feel like that's really been the bedrock of what you've done, or are you hoping that this web page that you're going to be launching here at some point is really going to be kind of get you out into the world, so to speak?
Because your Facebook page is kick ass.
Yeah,
I love
thank
your
you.
Facebook page.
Thank
and
you.
Just scrolling through there and looking at all the different
and it's just
photos, it's just
and all that
amazing.
stuff is unique. Like there's not a lot of things that I do that are like, again, working in manufacturing, you're used to like the Henry Ford model of stamping stuff out, a million of the same thing on an assembly line. I took that process as far as like doing it efficiently and effectively and applied it to one-off items. So a lot of the stuff you'll see on there is very unique. Like you won't see a lot of, there's no duplicates really of anything on there. So I guess to the point of, what I, my website, the way that I wanted the website to function was almost like Etsy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Etsy.
Sure. My wife loves Etsy.
And Etsy is a great site, and they're much like eBay. If you sell on eBay, they take a %, and then if you use PayPal as your pay structure or your structure to receive payments, they take a % as well. So you're 6-7% down before you even get your payment,
Sure.
versus having your own website. Even if you do use PayPal, you're getting 3%. So that's, more manageable. But the way I'm developing my website is different than the typical like consumer goods website in that I'm going to make one piece. It's unique. It's this watch is this watch and nobody else is going to have it. And I'm going to take a picture of it and I'm going to upload it to my website. If you want to buy it, $250 and it'll fit the size range. Now, if someone would email me and go, hey, I like that watch. Is it still available? It's sold. Can you make me something similar? I'll deal with that as it comes. But in the state currently that we're developing the website, it's going to be, I make it, I put it on the website. You're the only person that will have that item. And I'll make another item unique and I will upload it. And
that's a great selling point, man.
It's a great way to keep yourself from. I mean, it's almost like a safety function, so that you're not overwhelmed with. I want 500 of those cuffs.
That and the fact that I think that's where the creative side dies, and I go back into the mode of working for the man in the manufacturing mode. It's like make X amount of widgets at so many pieces per minute, at so many pieces per hour, out the door. That's where I couple what it takes to make a good. I know the process and the time and the materials and that aspect from the financial side. Take that and apply it to a unique piece and just, you can ballpark things. If I'm going to make this type of watch, it's going to take me 2-3 hours. I know that, but it's one of a kind.
And to me, I'm thinking of myself as a consumer. I know I've tried to find myself buying things that I know are unique. I like the idea of not necessarily having something I'm going to wear that's unique, but something that's mine that is unique that I use every day. I think that you're seeing more things like Etsy. Sorry. You're finding more things like that on the internet. Because my first thought is that I would love to have a motorcycle that is made by somebody else. They took some old Harley and they built me some rat bike, something
unique.
super unique. And then the gentleman that Chuck is talking about is Scott Takis, who does artwork here in Cedar Rapids. Have him do a kick-ass tank and fender, so that part is completely unique. Then you get somebody to hand make a saddle for you, or a seat for your bike, and so then all of a sudden you have literally a piece of artwork that is completely yours, completely unique, and no one will ever have anything like that again. And to me, that's one of those things that may sound silly, but just knowing that sitting in my garage, it just makes me feel all giddy inside. You know what I mean? I don't have to be outside riding around going, look how badass I am with all this unique shit on it. I know everything that went into it. I know how much time and energy and love and passion that went into something that made it so unique just for me. And I may see something out there with something similar, have done the same exact thing, but it's never going to be the same. And that's super. I mean, that is so appealing to me. And I think there's a lot of people out there. I think that's why those websites are so popular. It's that you're not going to have a lot of things that are similar. I mean, if you buy a crocheted hat off that website, there might be some that are kind of similar, but they're all going to be handmade, and there's going to be unique differences to all of them. You know, and that's what the appeal is, I think.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, like with Instagram, Instagram's been like my new best friend. Like as I make something, the whole hashtag thing, everybody like kind of makes fun of it. It's like, kids.
Yes,
we make fun of it a lot.
Kids and their hashtagging. However, from someone making a product, I will tell you that to be able to take a photo, and then I have a water stamp app that I can water stamp my logo onto my photos of stuff that I've made. And then to hashtag, handmade in Iowa, made in Iowa, handmade leather, custom leather, whatever, all those things, the exposure I get for that in a matter of a day. I mean, I'm getting people from, like, again, Vietnam, overseas, and Russia, whatever, just random people liking my photo because I've hashtagged it, and they daily go to, I wonder who in the world is making handmade leather stuff, because I love handmade leather stuff. So they go to their hashtag handmade leather, and they go, oh my God, that watch is awesome. Where's this guy from? And then all of a sudden they're following you.
So you can help us. What's a hash? We're new to Twitter. We're getting better at it. But what does a hashtag do? So if I click on a hashtag, it's going to take me to a whole link.
On Instagram, I will admit I suck at Twitter too. I don't use it that much, but Instagram hashtagging is basically, it takes you to that page. Okay. So when you put a hashtag in front of anything, any sequence of words, you might be the first person to think of that. You might put hashtag I love Iowa bourbon whiskey and I'm drunk on a podcast, and you're the only photo on there. But the next person that goes hashtag I'm drunk on Iowa whiskey on a podcast, their photo will go there as well. So it basically accumulates everybody's photos that put that same hashtag. So when I put hashtag custom leather, anybody in the world that puts hashtag custom leather, which there's a lot of people that do it, all of your photos of your stuff gets compiled on the site. So if you're a fashionista in Saudi Arabia and you love handmade leather goods, and every day you check your Instagram, custom leather, you're going to get to see everybody in the world that's making leather, custom leather, and then you can go, okay, who's this photo by? Oh, it's by Preston Leather in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm going to follow him. And then, look, on his page is his website. Bam, I'm going to go to his website. No, you've just created a customer, hopefully. So
cool.
It's free. It's awesome.
It's
so great. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, I can't wait to just get more product made and out there, and just like hashtag city, because like the people so far that have just the 5 or 10 photos that I have on my Instagram of stuff I've made, the locations of where these people are at, I'm just blown away.
And that is one of the coolest things about
awesome.
This. I agree with you, because on this podcast, when I have my media host is different than my web hosting, and this was all a big educational thing for me when I started doing this.
Very, very painful. And you're doing a fantastic job, buddy.
Thanks, pal. Big kisses. Anyway.
Yuck. Go ahead.
What's in that bottle?
Water.
Water with lemon.
Not the same stuff we're drinking.
But seeing that, you can go to the statistics, click on that. I can see how many downloads I'm getting per podcast, where or who in the whole world is downloading this. And after the first month, I was surprised that we were getting any. I thought, you know what, Todd, we're just going to do this for fun. Let's just do this for fun. We'll see how it goes.
Well, that was the very beginning.
If we just because it was so therapeutic that we were just getting stuff off our chest, and it was scratching that creative itch that we had. That we want to put something out there and have somebody like how you feel, I'm sure, say, I really dig that.
Yeah,
I dig that. So then to go to that website and click on the statistics, and you're like, oh shit,
yeah,
we got how many in Florida?
Yeah.
How did people in Florida hear about this Iowa podcast?
Or like you said before, Japan. We're like, so we gave a shout out to Japan one day because we were like, what the fuck?
Because we have like 6 downloads in Japan, which I'm sure podcasters are like, 6? That ain't enough. But hey, there's 6 people that have now heard my voice in Japan.
Exactly.
Who never would have heard my voice.
Around the other side of the globe. That's amazing.
And the Instagram thing, God, it's just
and kind of back to your point about like how to price stuff in Iowa. I mean, that goes back to the whole thing. That's where you really, that kind of comes back to my struggle of, gosh, do I want to be known as the guy that makes these really cool, $20 cuffs that sells at art shows, or do I want to be the guy that you can get a $250 watch from that's unique, one of a kind? Because globally speaking, I'm not selling the $20 cuffs on my website. I will not sell them on my website. It's only the premium stuff. So the people that find me on Instagram and see the cool stuff that I make there that are on the other side of the world, they're never going to know that I also make less expensive stuff. They're only going to know that I make this higher dollar stuff. So yeah.
And I think there's ways around that too, because I just bought, my son's graduating from boot camp next week, and I bought him just a small pocket knife from bestmade.com. It's a website, super unique stuff. Axes, like, they think the number one tool ever created in the history of the world is an axe. So they build these incredible handmade axes, and their clothing and stuff is expensive, but you know it's going to last forever, right? Yeah. And so I found this really simple pocket knife that says Courage on one side and says Best Made on the other side, and they import them handmade from Japan. And they're like $60. They're pretty reasonably priced. And so I called him and I said, of course, I'm thinking about this forever. Get the money, gonna buy it, get on there, And of course, I didn't see the little red print that said out of stock. Call and watch to see when we have this product in, because as soon as it comes in, it's gone because we only order 10 at a time. And so I'm like, oh shit. So I call their number, and it's, of course, somebody picks up right away because it's not this big humongous business that I have to go through different people. And I said, Andrea, how can I help you? And I was like, Andrea, I love this knife. Do you know when you're going to get them in? I would love to get one for my son. He's going to graduate in a couple weeks. Do you know, what could you do for me? You know what? We always keep one behind the shelf. I know we do. We don't ever get rid of all of them. And so let me see if I can find one for you. She fucking found it and shipped it to me. Nice. I think you can find situations where, hey, this is Chuck. Oh my God, you're the guy who makes the cuffs? Yeah. Hey, I really saw that. I love that cuff you made. Yeah. And you can hook somebody up behind the scenes if you don't allow yourself to get, like you said, so big that it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't talk to Chuck today. He's flying off somewhere in his private jet. You know what I mean? It's just what I think. You keep it real and you keep it down to earth, and you're doing it because you want it to be unique and it's a piece of art. And so I think that allows you some flexibility when it comes to, Well,
I think that's kind of the trend. To me, it looks like that's the trend. I was shocked and amazed by the customer service by Guitar Center here in town, and I thought, that type of customer service is dead. It's dead. I haven't seen it for so long. I call somebody because I need customer service, and I get India. And I can barely understand them. And they're doing the best job that they can. God bless them. But that's not what I'm hoping for. I don't want to press pound for. I don't want that either. I want somebody who can actually understand where I'm coming from. And
do you notice that everybody has unusually high call volumes? I mean, no matter what you call, we are experiencing unusually high volume.
So either A, your product sucks, because how many times are you going to call a factory or a business just to tell them, I love your fucking product? Your call volume.
You never call about good news. You only call about
you might be on the line for 32 minutes. I don't care. I'm fucking telling them they do some really good shit. Well, they do some really awesome stuff.
I had a couple, again, Guitar Center the other day. I went in to get some new headphones, and I was going to buy the exact same ones that you have, and which I ended up doing. But I was looking around. I was like, oh, some of these are really cool. Maybe I'll get a different pair. So I asked the guy, and some of them were more than these were. And he's like, what are you using them for? I was like, for a podcast. More expensive. Right. I said, but these are kind of cool. Would these be better, or what would be better? He's like, you know what? If your buddy has those and they work well for him, those are our go-to for everybody if they want good quality sound headphones.
And so they could have raped you over the coals.
Fuck, yeah. They're $180 for headphones on some of them. And they were nice. And I was like, oh, they're really cool and shiny. I'd love to have those on my head, And he was like, you just don't need them, And this is going to be a horrible corporate shout out. But I think this is why it's trending that people want to get to somebody to talk to them. I just got a Discover card. And I had a question about what day my bill was coming because I was so new that I hadn't got a bill yet. On the back of this credit card is one phone number in big letters. And I don't know if you look at the back of your debit card, there's just all these little teeny print, you can't see shit. One big number. And I was like, oh, that's unique. Call the number and it says, welcome to Discover. Would you like to talk to an associate? That's the first thing it asks you. Oh, no, sorry. If you want this in Spanish, press 1. And the next one was like, if you'd like an associate, press 0. And then it gave you your menu. So it was like, if you want somebody, now they could be taking me over to India, don't get me wrong. But the idea was, people are getting sick and tired of having to go through all this bullshit to find out information. I wasn't going to go bitch at anybody. I just wanted to find out a date. And so they're going to say, we'll do that as fast as possible for you.
And that's why I think what he's doing is one of those is becoming more and more popular. One, you can reach around the world and touch something and see something that's created that 20 years ago. No, fuck it. I guess I'm never going to have that. You'd never see it. Whereas now, people want to get away from what we were just complaining about, and they want to be more in touch with somebody. And the only way you're going to have that is by a small company, a small 1 person, 2, 3, 4 person ran group. And you're like, holy shit, you actually make it?
Yeah. Right.
Whoa.
But that's the hard part, though. So you get popular and you get big fast, and you have to have somebody help you do things. And so how do you keep that connection with people? I think you probably do it by living in your hometown or having a small storefront, things like that keep you connected and grounded, so to speak. But I think it'd be really easy if you imagine if, and I'm going to have him on this podcast at some point because I want to fucking talk to him about it, with Ashton Kutcher. Imagine he comes into town and all of a sudden he's got a picture of him wearing one of your cuffs. Yeah. Boom. Yeah. He's got 15 million followers on Facebook and shit like that. You never know what could happen. So how do you keep yourself grounded?
How I when you first said that to me, when we I don't know if you said it on our first podcast, we did like 10, 12 practice podcasts that we will never put on the air.
They're so horrible. Sound-wise.
Sound-wise, they're bad. But the topics, the conversation
when you guys retire from this, then you'll put out the B-sides or
the greatest hits that you never heard.
Director's cut.
And it's going to be expensive as hell. But when he said that, I was like, we're never having Ashton Kutcher on, dude. That's just, that's ridiculous. But just right now, it reminded me of these kids in high school who, what did they do? Get on Facebook or YouTube? I think it was a YouTube video. They made a YouTube video of themselves, and they were asking an actress or a model to prom. Some normal, random, small town kid was saying, "Hey, would you be my date for homecoming or prom?"
I think I read that.
Really?
Yeah, and they accepted.
Wasn't it? I think it was was it a football player? I think I remember. I vaguely remember something about that.
I'll put some links, some examples of this, because it was astounding, and because we have technology like that today, that you can reach out and go, "Hey, so Ashton, no shit, man, you want to be on this podcast?"
I thought it was that I've delivered on all the guests up to this point, so you're convinced that I will
you're doing
eventually get Ashton Kutcher. So again, what locked it in for me was his acceptance speech. Everybody talked about his acceptance speech at, I don't know, it was a Nickelodeon or some kind of and it was about being from Cedar Rapids and sweeping up oats at Quaker Oats and all the shit he did to get where he is. That he didn't get handed anything. It was all the commitment and hard work he did that got him where he was. It was just a great speech, and I thought everybody sees him as a pretty boy or the funny guy or the guy from that 70s show, and he's a realist in a lot of instances, and I like it when you wash away all the bullshit and you can see the person for who they are. I like that part.
You don't forget where you came from, and that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll be on someday and you'll have one of your cuffs on. I'll be like, what the fuck? Where'd you get that cuff? Do you know Chuck? Goddamn right I know Chuck. Small world, my friend. Small world.
We only have 120,000 people in Cedar Rapids, so what are you going to do? But one of the...
So now I'll give you that business card just in case you...
Very nice.
Awesome. And we'll give you one as well. We actually have... We just got some... We were pretty jazzed. I like that playing card.
Fuck yeah, I like that.
It's actually the downtown Cedar Rapids, and it's kind of hard to see, but in the image of that's actually a nighttime shot of.
Oh God, dude! Now I want to steal your idea. What a great idea for a playing card.
I want a card for a business card.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll put a picture of it on the website. It looks like a playing card, but it's his business card, and it's fucking sick, man.
And they're freaking expensive, but it also doubles as my tag. So if you buy something from me, which the Primal Screen highly promotes that you do,
which is true,
you will receive the same card as a tag on your item. So it's actually it's my product tag, but it's also
gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Like, the tag that you rip off and throw away, this one you actually rip off and you give to a friend because they're going to go, that's an awesome belt. Where'd you get that? And you just hand them the tag from your item that you just bought.
Man, he's got it all figured out.
You know what?
I should have been a marketing major or something.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I was biology.
I've never seen that on. I've never seen that on a tag. I've never seen that. Something that's so unique. You're like, oh, a tag. And it's got the website and how you can get a hold of it.
I basically wanted to make it
cool.
I wanted to make it so that people would not want to throw it away. So if it's a card, they're going to go. And the other cool thing about it is that it's not the size of a typical business card, which if you think about it, when you slide it in a wallet or a purse wallet, if you're a lady, it can easily hide behind your credit cards or it'll get lost in your wallet. This is not the normal size. So you have to find a unique place to put it, which means it's going to stick out. So that's kind of the third reason why I wanted it. One, it's cool because it's a playing card and it's unique. Two, it's doubles as a tag, so you can give it to your friend when you rip it off the item that you bought from me. But three, if you try to store it in your wallet, you're going to have a hell of a place finding to put it where it's not going to be exposed. So therefore...
Man, we're behind. We're so behind. We got to get.
Just suck it up. Suck it up.
Soaking in it all.
Suck it up.
Just
I see you. I have two fucking cuffs on. And shit, I can't wait.
Which
gladiator.
I was gonna say, dude. You do these competitions with CrossFit, don't you? I need to make you some big Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Dude, how badass would that be?
Big gladiator cuffs from Conan the Barbarian. So when you eventually when you get into the big what's that, the earth ball or
the
stones. When you get in the stones, you're going to have some big ass custom made cups.
Coming in last, but looking fantastic. It's Todd. He's a big sweaty mess, but his forearms look incredible.
And his gladiator cuffs and his assless chaps.
Oh God! Just the idea. I'm telling you, it would be worth the cost.
Assless chaps.
I would love to own a pair of it. Well,
I'm out.
They're assless only if you don't wear them without jeans. Chaps are in and of themselves assless.
Good point. Yeah.
So you just would not wear them.
You got me.
You just wouldn't wear them. It's just for how. Just when you're walking around the house, you just feel you're feeling frisky, and you're like, you know what, babe, I'm gonna put my chaps on.
My kids laugh at me the way it is when I walk around the house. I don't need to walk.
If I have a handmade pair of chaps from Rise Above Brothers, nobody's laughing. Nobody's laughing
except for the person who made it.
And the person behind you.
And he's he's allowed to laugh. He made it. So
hey, you know what? I want him to come back some night. And I don't even want. I don't even want to focus on him.
We can talk about whatever.
I want to talk about porn and comic books and Spider-Man. And
so your friend who is a podcaster,
yes, the Canman Show. Yes, check him out. He's awesome. He'll be on here.
And are you into that kind of stuff? Is that why you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm. Well, yeah. So I have that's the thing about me. I mean, once people get to know me, I'm like, yeah, I played sports. I have a day job. I do leather work on the side. I love my nieces and nephews. I'm a family guy. I'm a geek. I have a huge vintage Star Wars collection.
Nice.
I will throw that out there. So that's why that's kind of how Chad and I became buddies.
Do you have the battle? Do you have the?
Yeah, actually, don't. Before you even speak,
okay.
If it was from the 70s, if it was from the original trilogy,
awesome.
and it was a vintage toy. I probably have it still in the package. That's how big my collection is. I have a separate insurance policy in my house just for my Star Wars.
He's like
nice.
He's like the 40-year-old virgin.
I am. Yes, exactly.
I have the regretful things that my dad did with my stuff.
Garage sale stuff.
I had the Millennium Falcon that you unfold. It has all the characters in it. I remember having that jam-packed full. I used to carry it around. I loved it. And then, of course, somewhere it's just
gone.
Disappeared. And now I would just love to have it. I don't want to just sell it on eBay. I would just love to have all that shit.
I had my small childhood collection that basically survived garage sales. It was like just, I don't know why. Like, it wasn't like I hit 12 or 11 or 12 and it was in a box under the bed, and I didn't have a lot, but I had enough that kept my mind occupied in the creative side, with when you're playing with your action figures, you're like recreating, action scenes, and you're developing all these storylines in your head. So, probably why I do leather now, because I just, I think outside the box.
To actually link these two topics of doing leather and Star Wars, have you ever seen on Sci-Fi Channel Cosplay?
I think I've maybe seen it in the hotel room once. Yeah.
Costume role playing.
No, really?
Yeah, so these people, they make these really elaborate outfits, and they take characters from their favorite sci-fi, whatever it could be. It could be a cartoon, it could be a comic book, it could be just a movie, and they try to dress up in that character or that world.
For what reason? What's the reason behind it? Just to do it?
Because they love it's like going to Vegas for the comic book convention,
Comic-Cons.
Gotcha. Okay,
right. So these people really get into this stuff, and people make money making these outfits that other people want. They're like, "Oh, that's really badass stormtrooper outfit."
That's awesome.
So they are having these cosplay competitions, and I don't know if the show is still running or not, but the one that I saw, this guy did custom leather work, and he made a custom leather stormtrooper outfit.
I've been approached to do steampunk belts. And steampunk is like a whole genre and way of dressing, and it's cool. Because I love there's something about the late 1800s, 1900s, that whole the hats and the ascots and the vests. It's cool. It's
and the corsets. And,
it's hip wear and people wear. There's a whole group of people that dress in the steampunk fashion. Hey, if I can make a belt that fits your motif with how you dress daily, hell, I'll do it. So
Etsy had a steampunk Nerf gun. Some guy did a steampunked Nerf gun, right? And that's when our kids are really into Nerf guns. And I thought, I was just like, it was like $40, which is not too much more than a Nerf gun of itself.
Yeah, regular.
And so I was like,
it's super rad though. Just the way they.
It was so fucking cool looking.
Yeah.
I thought I should get that. And I was like, oh geez, I'll buy it and they'll play with it once and chuck it in a corner and then it'll be done with. But it was like a very unique looking thing. And Etsy has a ton of steampunk stuff on their side.
Yeah. I think it goes back to just being a kid, and I was the youngest of 6 and I was the last one at home while everybody's in school. Is right when Star Wars came out. So, hey, mom didn't want to babysit me all the time. So guess what? She can take me down to Revco and on Centerpoint Road and buy me a Star Wars action figure and buy me another one. Next thing you know, I'm done. I'm set. Show me the movie. Creating worlds and this imagination just kind of grew from there. But I don't know.
Well, let me say too, Chuck, as I know you via my wife and followed him on Facebook, and it's interesting because you are a unique guy with what you do when it comes to your artwork, and then I think you dress really fucking awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And then
you know what? Coming from a guy to tell me that means a lot, because usually it's kind of the it's adverse. So but that's. And then
I see pictures on Facebook of you going back to your home farm.
Yeah, down in southern Iowa.
So it's like it.
And I hunt. I hunt and I fish. I'm an outdoors guy. I play sports. I don't know. I've never growing up. I never wanted to fit in a. Not that I didn't want to. It's just I grew up Catholic, just like your wife did. And
I like the fact that we can't pigeonhole you.
It's just the one thing, and it probably goes back to my first ancestor that came across on the boat. My great-great-grandfather came from Ireland, but very Catholic. And I don't even want to dedicate it to the religion per se, but it's just the principle that you treat others as you would like to be treated.
Sure.
Yes, it's biblical in principle, but in theory, it's just what the hell?
Yeah.
Well,
Seems pretty simple.
You treat people nice. You would hope that they would treat you nice in return. If they don't, then don't waste your time with them. And that's the way I've been my entire life, which has kind of allowed me to be this random person that no one can put a finger on. As he's a guy and he dresses cool. Oh, let's label him. Oh, but wait, he likes to hunt and he plays baseball, but he's got a Star Wars collection, and it's like, and he's good at bowling. What the hell? It's random, and he likes to rake and he volunteers a lot. It's like, and he makes leather. So it's like, I don't know, like. Variety is the spice of life, and I guess maybe I just want to be the spice in everybody's life.
That's very appealing because I'm just like, oh, that's neat that you.
It's just interesting.
It was just one more. It's like, another turn.
A splash of color.
Oh shit! I look at that farm. That's really neat. It looks like it's been around for generations.
Yeah,
it's
120 years.
That's amazing. Amazing, cool stuff.
Yeah.
And now, look at you got fiance who's a country western. Would she be country
western and from Canada?
From Canada.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's like, to
new things and not allowing yourself to get pigeonholed.
Yeah,
you're every door, every window.
I'm and people person is probably, I know it's cliche and whatever, but I don't know. Like, I'll never not say no to of a chance to meet somebody different from me or somebody new. It's just kind of the way I am. I don't care, whatever your situation is, I'll give you a chance,
Sure.
Maybe we don't line up. Maybe we never connect again. Maybe I meet you once and like, you're cool. And then I never see you again the rest of my life. But hey, I never turn down the opportunity to meet somebody new or just try something new.
Well, geez, you never know what you're going to find out.
No.
Holy cow, what if you missed out on something? Exactly. Even if it's a small little snippet of something.
Yep.
That's pretty
and
cool.
See, a really interesting person who also carries a gun.
Yeah, and I do, yeah. So, not right now. Just FYI, I'm not.
You're not in a school zone. You're okay.
No, I know. There's kids here, though. I know.
I appreciate you not carrying. Always makes me nervous.
But he's very anti-gun.
I wouldn't say I'm anti-gun. I just makes me
very
nervous.
Skittish. He's very skittish around guns, and I'm not. And some of the other people who we've had on aren't, and so we give him a hard time about it. But look, you don't even have to own a gun. He'll make you a really badass. Ooh, what if he made you like a really badass
Nerf gun holster,
old Western hip holster? You know what? That's
with the tie on the thigh.
Tie on the thigh. That's another
sweet.
thing I was gonna ask you about was there's a lot of like
Civil War reenactments. Buckskinners.
Are you reaching in?
I know.
That's actually what I was going to ask about because there's so many.
I actually have an Excel sheet of all the stuff that I should do, and you've listed probably half of them, and there's more that you've obviously given me that I'm going to add to the list. Not the cat whips and ball gags, but I might.
He said ball gag. No,
yeah. But yeah, I'm. You're only as good as you know. There's longevity and markets change, economies change. So you always have to be able to adapt to what's out there. Hey, you know what? 10 years from now, the economy might suck so bad that nobody wants to buy a belt. They're going to go back to wearing elastic suspenders, So then what am I going to do? You got to find something that...
Fucking make leather suspenders. How badass would that be?
Yes,
First thing was like, he said suspenders. Fuck leather suspenders. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it.
They got to be the suspenders that go into a Y.
The cross in the back,
Or they cross in the back.
And if you want, there's an add-on holster for like if you're like the hitman that wants to reach across,
Look at that.
I wouldn't carry a gun, but I carry those goddamn holsters.
That shit's tight. So if we have you back on,
I'll brush up on my current events and politics.
Oh shit! Don't change yourself, Chuck. For us, just be yourself.
So you'd have no problem coming back.
Oh hell no.
God, we really enjoy
It'd be fun.
it.
We should. It'd be fun to be. It'd be fun to have your wife on sometime. Oh, you're getting married when? Do you have a date yet?
We're actually in January of this year. Her parents are going to fly from Calgary and to Cedar Rapids. She's going to fly from Houston to Cedar Rapids, and then her parents and my dad are going to go to the courthouse, and we're going to make it official just because we need to start. In order for us to start the legal
paperwork shit.
You're going to be a dual citizen. Number one on the list is you must be married. So we're going to do the like kind of courthouse thing, but knowing that we can start the legal process. But then, in the summer, we're probably going to have just a big blowout at the probably at the U.S. Cellular Center, and anybody that's listening is invited. So,
Sweet.
I'm not sure who's going to be playing. I don't know. Skid Row, maybe.
Yeah, it was Korn and who last night?
Rob Zombie. Which I wouldn't mind seeing Rob Zombie. I mean, I like his movies are kind of creepy and weird, but he's got
He's a unique fella.
Yeah,
and so is Korn.
Yeah.
And Korn's from. Slipknot's
from Des Moines.
Des Moines, that's right.
The guys with the masks.
Mm-hmm.
Those.
The scary poster that my kids always freak out at when we walk into Guitar Center. Whoa, Dad, what is that? I'm like, just look away, kids. It's all right.
Why are they wearing those? Don't worry about it.
It's so scary. It is pretty scary.
They're from Iowa. That's why.
Can't be seen in public.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me on. Seriously, it was a lot of fun.
It was good.
Todd, how can people follow us at home?
Best way is to get to us on Facebook. And also get to us on our website. All the links are there. You can get iTunes downloaded for our podcast. Sketcher is another way you can download our podcast. Like us on Facebook.
Stitcher.
Follow us. What did I say?
You said Sketcher.
Scratch. I said Scratcher.
Scratcher?
Scratch and Sniff. That's a new website. Sorry.
It's
say it again.
Stitcher.
Stitcher. All right. My bad. Sorry. I probably should know who the hell we're promoting. But like us on Facebook. Follow us. You can download the Twitter feed as well. Twitter, as I'm getting more savvy, to use a good word. And we're putting a lot of things on there. Also on Pinterest, we also throw things on there once in a while. I'm going to see if Chuck's comfortable, maybe I can throw some Pinterest pictures on there.
Oh,
and
totally.
get those things going around the old interweb.
Yes.
And then that's probably the best way to do it.
We're going to totally have a link. Rise Above Leathers. We're going to have his link on our website. So if you want to check out his really cool stuff.
Or when you check out.
And I ship globally. So those of you listeners in Japan, which we know you're out there, order. You will be the coolest kid in Tokyo. I promise you.
Oh shit, that'd be so. Can you imagine that? You're some little Japanese kid and fucking got a cuff on.
Why you got to be
Jesus,
little?
so
Could be some sumo.
It's a terrible
dude.
assumption on my
Yep,
part.
It is.
I apologize.
I will make whatever you want.
Very cool.
All right, because they're so hot. The chicks, anyway. All right, I'm gonna.
Had to go there. We're not going to talk about porn.
I'm gonna calm down.
Wipe the brow.
All right, so for all of you at home, this is Matt.
This is Todd.
And it's Chuck.
Nice.
We'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.